Okay, so welcome everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Martin. I'm one of the acupuncturists here at the clinic. And the goal of today is to hopefully provide you with a lot of good, helpful information. Our topic is on detox, toxins, chemicals, cleanups. It's a good topic. It's a good place to start if you're trying to get healthy. A lot of times people, if people are looking at where to start, well, maybe looking at a cleanse or a detox, it could be a good option. However, I think what we're going to provide you might give you a different perspective. There's different camps. I just like to call them camps when it comes to the idea of detox. And I am definitely more on one of the camp side saying that make your body as strong, instead of always trying to clean and getting rid of things, also think about making your systems, like your liver and your kidneys, and you have lots of systems inside of you that are designed to filter and get toxins out. So it's super important to, instead of always thinking like, I need to take this to detoxify myself, one idea that we're going to bring to you tonight is the idea, well, why don't you just make your liver stronger? Why don't you make your kidneys more robust so that they can handle more stress? Because at the end of the day, we do live in a very chemically toxic world. We saw it very clearly and evidently around the forest fires. You know, for the first time in my life, I was like encouraged to stay indoors and avoid, like I had all these summer plans, and maybe you were there thinking about like, I'm going to go camping, I'm going to do these activities, I'm going to go running, I'm going to sign up for this. And then the world was telling you stay indoors because the air is so toxic, you're going to have problems breathing. So we're going to talk a bit about some things to keep your body stronger. We're going to talk about, V's going to share some hacks related to technology, what kind of tech is out there to help us maybe clean up some of the chemicals. We're going to talk a bit about, we brought a few drinks or a few foods that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk specifically about how traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture can help you in that respect, because that's what we do. That's our strength. And probably we're going to talk about other things, but those are the main things we're going to talk about. So we're really excited because, again, like, as she mentioned, since COVID, we haven't done one of these things. We used to do them all the time, and we hope that you're going to find this very helpful and valuable. So let's start with V. Tell us a bit more about the technology out there and what can it do to help us.
All right, perfect. Hello, everyone. So before I jump into a couple of apps that have been introduced to me recently, I just want to talk about different signs and symptoms of toxicity, because there's a very wide variety, and I don't want to have people think that it's only one thing or another. So yes, it affects your lung system, but things like just fatigue and nausea. If you're, exposed to certain chemicals or certain environmental toxins on a regular basis, your digestive system is going to be affected. Skin irritability, sinus congestion, weight gain, indigestion, backache. So there's a lot of signs and symptoms, and very often we can associate it to toxins. We say things are inflammatory in the body as well. That's another word that we can throw around quite a bit, but essentially when something is toxic in the body, it will cause inflammation in the body. It affects different systems, and it'll show itself through different things, whether it be physically or energetically, and even emotionally in your body as well. So there are a lot of apps out there. You've probably heard of a few of them: Think Dirty, Food Advisor, Detox Me, Good Foods. All of those are really good. My favorite one that I was introduced to not too long ago is called Yucca. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. Yes. But one of the reasons I like Yucca as opposed to the other ones is that it does talk about food as well as cosmetics and hygiene products that you find in your house. So it is free. There is an upgraded version. I've never downloaded it. Maybe I will at some point, but even free, there's a lot of information given. So what essentially it is it's an app that you scan anything with a barcode. Pretty much everything has a barcode nowadays. And it gives you a breakdown as to some of the hazardous ingredients that would be in whatever item that you just scanned. So I wrote down just 4 that I scanned in my house recently. 2 of them are deodorants. So deodorants are probably some of the most toxic things that we use on our body every single day. So the ones that I am going to choose to talk about are the things that you will probably be using every single day. Lady Speed Stick. It's a brand that we all know. You're shaking your head. I love the smells of them.
I don't use it.
But they're so bad for you. So this one in particular contains silicones. It is considered highly hazardous. It is shown to be an endocrine disruptor, and it's actually banned in the United Nations. It's not banned in the United States nor in Canada, but like this one in particular on a score of 1 to 100, I think was either a 0 or a 4. And this is something that is like widely available. Probably most people use it. Another one was a Dove brand, which people might think Dove is a little bit better. This one in particular, Dove Shea Butter Deodorant. You think shea butter? It has those catchy phrases that everyone's like, ooh, shea butter, that's nice. No, definitely not. Also contains BHT, also known as an endocrine disruptor, and also has high levels of allergens as well. But this one in particular for your endocrine system affects your thyroid function, as well as affecting sex hormones and fertility. Side note, one of the reasons I downloaded this app and started looking into it, in acupuncture we treat a lot of people for fertility, and it's one extra thing that people can do on the side if they find that they've been trying to conceive for the last few months, few years, and just things aren't working out. Going through your cabinets and scanning some of the things that you use every single day is something that I immediately recommended doing. For the coffee lovers out there, I love black coffee, I love espresso, and I also love French vanilla coffee creamer. It is so bad for you. But other than just the sugar and fat content, which is one part of it, contains, I'm going to butcherize this, dipotassium phosphate. And though phosphates are quite natural in the body, the amount of phosphates that we're being exposed to nowadays is 2 to 3 times the amount of phosphate that we should normally be exposed to. And what that means is that it actually has been linked to increases risk of cardiovascular disease, can negatively affect the kidneys, disrupt calcium metabolism, and bone mineralization as well. So these are all things that we hear on a daily basis, and I'm sure most people have coffee in the morning. Tea's a better option. I say it. I don't do it, but I say it. Yeah, again, something that we probably have quite often. This is more for the older generation. This is because of my father. If you follow me on social media, every now and then I post things that my dad eats. He is from the 40s, he was born in the 1940s. He loves those like sidekicks. So all of those like pre-made pastas and pre-made potatoes in a box, which are absolutely nutrient void. So I scanned this one. It was Sidecakes Fettuccine Alfredo. Again, I think it was 0 out of 100. Contains silicone dioxide, which induces oxidative stress, specifically in your intestinal cells. Could damage the kidneys, impair liver function, and then again was associated with the disodium phosphate as well, which I had just previously talked about. So these are all things that I just went through the cupboard. I only scanned maybe shampoos, conditioners, things I use all the time, but think of like, facial cleansers, hand cream, things that you're exposing your body on a daily basis. If you are unsure if it's well made or not, the app is free. It's called Yuka, Y-U-K-A. I'm not selling it because I have no shares in it or anything like that, but I highly recommend it. There's probably other apps out there as well, but that is the one that so far I found was the most informative. And another thing that I really like about it is that it also does talk about the environmental impact on the world, which aside from the environmental impact, the environment also affects us. So it does go both ways. It's like, yes, I love my trees, I love my animals and my plants and so on and so forth. But ultimately, if the environment is going to shit, sorry, YouTube, so are we at some point or another. So, yeah. So that is my part about talking about technology. So it's my favorite app. I'm glad that one of you has it. Recommend everyone look into it, and yeah, cool. All right, shall I continue?
Yes.
Yes. Why not? Okay. So right now I'm going to talk a little bit about food and cocktails, mocktails, things like that. So Martin did make a little something for you guys to try. So did I. I'll pass it around after because I don't want to take up too much time pouring and talking about it. But the whole concept of mocktails is something that I absolutely love. I've worked in bars and restaurants for over 20 years. Non-alcoholic cocktails has definitely been in trend for more than 10 years now. But even more importantly, I think that it's just becoming more approachable, and the quality of ingredients out there is, again, approachable. I wouldn't necessarily say affordable, but you can definitely find it. So one thing I'm going to talk about mocktails is there are a lot of non-alcoholic spirits out there, and though they're fun, I think they're fun in a restaurant setting. I wouldn't recommend it for necessarily home settings unless you really want to geek out into cocktails. What I'd rather suggest is doing mocktails with tea. I love tea. The one that I prepared today has a little bit of dandelion root in it, which dandelion is amazing for the liver and the kidneys and so on and so forth. But making a mocktail with teas, you're getting the benefits of those teas to begin with, as well as a lot of the flavor profile from it. So dandelion, I find, has a kind of this weird sweetness to it. It's bitter, but it is sweet at the same time, almost like an umami style of sweetness. But you can try that afterwards. Other teas that are really good, green teas are fantastic, any of the berry teas, but making a mocktail with that, and then I do have a little handout. Start with the basics of a mocktail and think of a cocktail that you really like. I find things like Collins or mojitos are the easiest ones to make some form of riff off of. So you pick a basic tea, and then from that, you just build on it. So pick a citrus afterwards. You pick a herb. So citrus, limes, or lemons are your basic ones. But then again, like orange, grapefruit, things like that would be fantastic. Herbs. Don't limit yourself to just mint, basil, cilantro, or some of the other ones. Rosemary is fantastic as well. Then you add your sweetener agent. This is one mistake that a lot of people do. They put too much sugar, in which, you're making a mocktail and just full of sugar. You can do agave. There is stevia as well. Do it to taste. We want you to like it, but also if you add a lot of fruit to these mocktails, then you're going to get natural sweetness out of it. So do be careful to the amount of sugar that you're adding to it as well. And yeah, you can add some bitters. Fee Brothers is one of my favorites. There's a lot of different bitters out there, but I love Fee Brothers because there's zero alcohol in them. Most bitters have alcohol in it. And they have, cranberry, rhubarb, lemon, orange, all of these different types of bitters, and you just add a couple drops, and it definitely gives more aromatics and more flavor to these mocktails. And yeah, essentially just easy to make like one or two at home. I like them to make batches at home. So just have like pints or like mason jars full of tea and just have that be a go-to thing. If you're hosting parties, again, you can make like big jugs of it. And it's definitely a lot cheaper than buying like a $50 bottle of Seedlip. Love Seedlip, but it can get quite expensive after a while. So so that's kind of my little chat about mocktails. And I will talk a little bit about food and then throw it back to Martin here. So when it comes to food, I'm not going to go into a lot of ingredients, just a few things to look out for. You've probably heard of the Dirty Dozen list. Again, I have a little handout. Just the 12 ingredients or fruits and vegetables that are most commonly exposed to pesticides. Those are the ones that you want to pay particularly more attention to cleaning. Running it with copious amounts of water. You can also just add a little bit of baking soda as well. So that's another way to balance out the toxicity of pesticides. And then you have the Clean 15. So Clean 15, those are the 15 fruits and vegetables that are least likely to contain pesticides. It's not to say you don't want to wash it obviously, but yeah. And from the Dirty Dozen though, cost of ingredients are very expensive. I don't say that you need to buy everything organic as much as possible, but look at your big, like your daily diet or your weekly diet. I am someone who does smoothies quite on a regular basis, so kale and spinach are on the Dirty Dozen list. So if I'm going to pick one or two things that I'm going to buy organic, I'm going to purchase those organic as opposed to some of the other things that I would buy just like once in a blue moon. And shout out to the cruciferous vegetables family. And the reason why I'm going to note this one, because I did a lot of research before this, the cruciferous vegetable produces DIM. which is a really cool thing that has it plays an important role in natural detoxification. So what it means is that it also supports normal hormone metabolism, which it helps in turn rebalance hormones and reduces those hormonal symptoms. So going back to a lot of what I see in the clinic are people with hormonal imbalances, which is why like I am a big love of cruciferous vegetables, because that one in particular talks about balancing the hormones as opposed to some other fruits and vegetables that, yes, you know, helps with like liver function, kidney function. All of these things are really, really good. But if you're going like for hormonal specific foods, then that is one that I really like because it does mention specifically balancing up the hormones. So yeah, I will stop there for a little bit and Martin can come back and chat as much as me.
Okay, awesome. I don't talk as fast as she does.
Sorry, not sorry.
But yes, so when we think of like being toxic, sometimes we think of I'm consuming too much alcohol, and that's kind of what we wanted to offer is some ideas like, and it's kind of on trend right now where people are actually drinking less and less alcohol and looking for different ideas to offer when you're entertaining. I wanted to talk a little bit about there's so many drinks when it comes to detoxifying. Like you could do just hot water with lemon. You might have heard of that as a simple way to get your liver enzymes and your stomach enzymes going in the morning. That's a simple remedy thing that you can do that can be very, very interesting. I think there are so many levels, so many ideas when it comes to detoxifying, and like one of them that got my interest, always has had my interest, and it's maybe because I have an interest in coffee. But you can do. Have anybody here ever heard of coffee enemas?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's one of the like top idea behind treating cancer on the more natural side of things. I've never had coffee enemas, but I drink a lot of coffee, and I've always been interested of trying and looking for ways to boost my health. But what I'm trying to say is that you can, before you decide to stick coffee up your butt, you can also just drink some hot water lemon drink and in the morning and keep it very simple. You can also just get some fresh air and like actually move and sweat. If you sweat, your body's detoxifying. You can also avoid like, you know, my wife is always like, okay, we gotta make sure we're buying organic and we gotta make sure we're doing this. And then she'll like get like a big piece of cake and she 30 minutes ago, she was just telling me about all these things. And then she's like eating a cake and I'm like, weren't you just like, we all gotta pick our battles, and I get it. But I wanted to bring up one idea that came up to me recently, and it was a patient that brought this up to me. It's called sea buckthorn. This is what it looks like. It's a fruit. It's a fruit that grows on shrubs. It grows here in Ottawa. It originates from Nepal and all over like other countries in Europe and in Asia. This is something that people would grow and they would make juice out of it. They would make all sorts of different things you can do with it. But it's something that I recently started drinking because ever since Christmas, I don't know what happened. I got a little bit sick, and then I kept doing this. And I didn't notice it for several, and then at a certain point, Emily kept saying, "You're always doing," and I was like, "You're right." And that, I never had that until Christmas. So she was talking to a patient, and the patient said, "Try sea buckthorn and see if it helps you." And sea buckthorn is tart. It's similar to lemon. It's a citrus type. anything that is citrus, that type of flavor, tends to astringe, tend to dry things up as well, but tends to hold things, and this can help with mucus basically. So I started drinking it. I got somebody ordered a whole bottle for me, and every day I'd get a shot of sea buckthorn. I would drink that, and I don't know, but my is gone. So I'm not claiming that this is going to cure all like problems, but there's all sorts of other things. But this is something, and once I started looking more into this, well, for one, I found out that there's a place here in Vars that and I this morning I got in my little car and I drove to Vars and I got to meet the farmer, and she told me, we talked for like 45 minutes, and she gave me all sorts of ideas, and you're gonna try it before at the end of this. You're gonna try it, and it's something that is very rich in vitamin C. And the other thing that's very interesting is that the oil content, there's a little seed. You're gonna try one, and you're gonna notice that you're left with a little seed in your mouth, and that seed contains oil. And that oil is actually what pharmaceutical companies right now are trying to get because it's so rich. This is apparently the number 2 best food in the world for vitamin C. And if you ever think about detoxifying, if you've ever heard of a vitamin C flush, what it is the idea of taking high doses of vitamin C, which helps flush out toxins. So you can do that perhaps with this. Going in the same vein or talking about other types of foods, this is one that I'm more familiar with. It's called goji berries. It's another berry. It's actually known as a super berry. And this one, guess what? It's also very rich in vitamin C. These two, what they do, she talked about antioxidants. What are antioxidants? Antioxidants they allow to bind on to free radicals. So your body creates waste and creates bad things inside of you as we live and as we ingest and as we go on. And free antioxidants will go ahead and bind to these things, which is super helpful, which is part of what we want. Now, taking too many antioxidants is bad, but still finding foods that are rich, typically vegetables and fruits tend to be high in antioxidants. This is another one. This one, when I was in Chinese school, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine school, we kept talking about how this is so good for the eyes. And it is. It's something you can snack on. There's tons of benefit that this can be good for the eyes. But there are a connection in Chinese medicine. We talked about how the eyes there's a connection from the eyes to the liver. And it just so happens that this can be very beneficial for your liver as well. So you'll get, if you have never tried this, we'll sample it out. You'll get to try it a little bit. You can snack on this. You can also just throw it into a drink. And then it'll leave, like, you can throw it in a tea. You can even, like, you can make spaghetti sauce and throw it into your spaghetti sauce. So this is that. So I wanted to talk a bit about the food. We talked about drinks, about the idea how you can keep the concept of detoxifying simple. Now I'm going to talk a bit about as an acupuncturist, because that's what I do. That's my. I want to kind of give you a bit of some background related to as an acupuncturist. What do we do to help and assist related to detox? So for one, how do we know if someone's toxic? Well, in Chinese medicine, we're trained to observe. So we observe and we look for signs and clues. And your body is constantly giving you signs and clues. One of them is through the skin. If your body is having issues with the skin, it's a sign that there's toxins that are trying to come out. And a lot of times it comes out through skin problems, eczema, acne, psoriasis. Another thing we observe is we observe the tongue. The tongue, you might not know this, but is actually a whole picture of your organ systems in your body. And we know that, for example, if the sides of the tongue is red, or if we see teeth marks, then those are signs that perhaps your liver or your gallbladder are malfunctioning. It's not the perfect tell. Now, don't go home and you look at your tongue and right away you think you have liver cancer or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to say. But these are clues that our body is communicating. Another one, if you go like this, that means you have mucus in your throat. Mucus is a sign that your body is creating more. If your body's creating more mucus, it's because your body is trying to get rid of something. Another one is swelling. If we see people have sometimes swelling in their hands or swelling in their ankles, maybe swelling in other joints. Swelling is a fluid that your body is holding onto. So basically, as an acupuncturist, a lot of times what we're trying to do is assist the body to make sure that the systems like the liver, the kidneys, perhaps the intestines are working optimally so that your body can get rid of these toxins. We do that through acupuncture. We also do it through cupping. Who here has heard of cupping? So cupping is these little cups here. And what we do is we get fire, and just for the sake of this, I was maybe going to do it, but I won't do it. But imagine I had a big flame. I take my flame, I put it in the cup, and right away I stick it on the skin. And it creates this little octopus suction, and it raises the skin up. And this is very good for the lymphatic system. So sometimes people are congested, they have a cold, they have a lot of fluid, they're retaining a lot of fluid. We can do cupping, we can encourage more lymphatic drainage, and that can help to release toxins. So that's one thing. The other thing we do, obviously, I'm an acupuncturist, we do acupuncture. And there are a lot of acupuncture points that are great for the liver, that are great for the gallbladder, that are great for the kidneys. And basically, we stick a needle in an area. It could be, my liver is right here. So, and if you're curious, like, how's your liver? You can actually palpate, you can press in this area, maybe when you're a little bit more relaxed. And sometimes, if you feel really tender, that could be an indicator that there's a problem with your liver. It might not also be with the liver. It could be with the gallbladder. So the liver and gallbladder, they're right next to each other. And some people, with time, they develop gallstones. So gallstones is like kidney stones. These stones that prevent your gallbladder to function properly, and your gallbladder is designed to produce bile so that you can break the fat and digest better. So you can press in there, but as an acupuncturist, sometimes, and if you ever came to see me, you might have noticed I press sometimes in that area, and I put a few needles there. And guess what is that for? Liver? It's for your liver. Yeah, for your liver or your gallbladder. Sometimes I'll put a needle right here, and guess what that's for? Liver? Yeah! I thought I was going to trick you. That's for your liver as well. Yeah. So there are great acupuncture points all over the body that can benefit the liver, whether it could be right next to the liver or it could be down here. But yeah, basically what we're telling the brain, send more blood to the liver so that the liver can function better and can detoxify, can do all the good things that the body needs to do. You can't live without a liver.
What about the kidney?
You can live with one kidney, but still life is not as good. It is harder. You know, the people that are sometimes some people are very generous. I've met people where like they've donated their kidney, because we have 2 kidneys, right? Mm-hmm. They've donated it, but it's still, I actually have a patient right now. He's about to donate his kidney to a friend of his. And very, like, I admire it. It's like, oh wow, it's incredible. But I ask, like, that's going to affect your health. And he's like, he knows. He's like, but he's willing to make that sacrifice.